We real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike. We sing. We thin gin. We jazz June. We die soon.
Welcome to Radical Listening, the Portland podcast where we talk about local productions. I'm your host, Phil Johnson.
And I'm your co-host, Clifton Holtznagel.
Today we talk to Damaras Webb and Letevin Alexander of Pipeline, now showing at Portland Playhouse.
Damaras directed the show and Tevin plays the lead role. And it was really, really great to sit down with the two of them and hear what they had to say about it.
Yeah, I felt like it was a great conversation because I liked that we talked about devising and kind of going back between the process of making theater traditionally and non-traditionally. I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. And Damaras' work with new work in particular influencing how she's working with this script that's getting a lot of play around the country right now was really interesting too. Mm-hmm. Like how can we approach work that's, being done or has been done with fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we talked about Pipeline, the title, and what that means for this play. And I thought that was really interesting because the title gives you a certain amount of information, but when you come see the play, you can take away so much more. And I thought it was really good that we got into understanding this play and why Pipeline doesn't tell the full story. And without any more hesitation, here's our interview with Damaras Webb and Letevin Alexander.
Welcome to Radical Listening. Today we're talking with Damaras Webb and Letevin Alexander, who are members of the production of Pipeline by Dominique Morisseau at Confrontation Theatre, playing at Portland Playhouse through March 15th. Damaras, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Great. And Letevin, how are you doing today?
What's good, man? I'm good.
Hanging in there,
bro. Oh,
yeah.
It's good to have you guys here.
I know.
It's been a long time coming.
And of course,
it's been a long time coming.
Philip Johnson, our host, who is also the sound designer of Pipeline.
Yes, I am here.
He is here.
Back-to-back shows where the hosts are in the show we're talking about.
That's
yeah.
right. So we're really making it here.
Hey.
October 2nd.
Yeah.
We're all,
October.
Oh, this is
the
Right.
Libra.
Whoa, I'm October
section
8th.
right here.
8th. I'm the 5th.
5th,
Second,
2nd,
third.
Wow.
Damn.
Libras
That is a
unite.
It's a mighty week. It's a mighty
pretty
week.
Do we
cool.
have like a hand sign, or is it just simply L's up? Like,
I think we should if we
yeah.
don't.
Like, where do you know where we are in the Libra pantheon? Like, we're not on the cusp.
No, we're pretty dead
yeah,
on
yeah,
because
we're-
Libra's like September 21st. It's like
Yeah.
about equinox to like a month later, so
Yeah.
we're right in the middle. Hey, I've got a Libra branding
Hey,
here.
I see you.
That's the Libra symbol
Oh, it is.
branded onto my arm. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hardcore,
I see
Libra,
you in this thing.
Libra
It's
for
that
life.
Libra life.
That's
Yo.
right.
That's what's
I
up.
love that.
So for those at home, you know what to expect. Got nothing but Libras here, so
It took
I
us this
love
long to get started. we just been
That's
sitting here
us.
talking.
That's us.
That's funny.
So yeah, let's talk about Pipeline. I think what we should start with is just talking about how the process went for each of you individually, because Tevin, you're coming from Confrontation Theatre, so you're coming kind of with two hats.
Right.
And Damaras, you're coming off of a whole nother show and things going on, and then you kind of like came into this process. I just remember there was a lot of early on, I don't want to say stress, but kind of like, yeah, I'm here now, and like, so I don't know, how was that for you guys?
I'll say from an acting standpoint, it's been great. It was great to like kind of step back and to not have to worry about producing in the room. Like every time I would hear the designers talking about something, I just kind of, okay, nope, let me go find something to do. Let me turn around. I trust Damaras, and so I knew that, like I was in good hands as an actor. I trusted some of the people all of the people. I would say some. I only say some because I had never worked with a couple people before, or one person before. Yeah. But it didn't take long for me to be like, oh, yeah, no, we're good. So it was great. It was a nice stretch for me as an actor to play a 17-year-old again after playing some older characters That was a nice time, like coming back to that. I hate cutting my face. I hate cutting my beard, like cutting
Oh, yeah.
hate
I
that
had to
shit.
play a 17-year-old about a year ago, and I had to not only shave my face but my whole body because I had to get naked.
Oh,
And they're like, "You're too
damn.
hairy to be 17." I'm like, now I just look like a shaved old
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, yeah.
I was-
But no, it was fine. So but yeah, it was just a very, I was ready for the challenge to come in and play Omar, and although he was younger, my last show, Sweat, was a character who I think was very similar to Omar, just older. You know what I mean? Like had very similar energy. But so I wanted to figure out, okay, how can I make this character different and real all at the same time? So yeah, and I think I did that. I am doing that as we continue to run.
So how about you?
Yeah, so came in off another show and sick. This is the winter of people getting sick for
Oh my
long periods
God.
of time.
That's
Yeah,
true.
boy.
It was
I
like
had
the
it like all December.
yeah. And so the first, I think 3 weeks of rehearsal, there was a garbage can next to me and a box of Kleenex, like the whole time. That was real.
Yeah.
But it has been, a pleasure. It's just this, reflexive way to say, but really, it has been a pleasure. I feel everyone at Portland Playhouse was super supportive and respectful, which was incredible to because you never know how that is with,
Yeah.
coming in with co-productions or
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just blessed with a fantastic cast and a fantastic crew and a fantastic script and a theater that was 5 minutes from my house.
Right.
So this has been butter. I mean,
boy.
yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a producing standpoint, it was really dope. Like, speaking of the team, like most of the design team was black. I hesitate to say of color because I hate that shit. But most of the design team was black. I'm so happy to have, for the first time at the Portland Playhouse, both a black set designer and a black sound designer. I don't know what other company in the city of Portland has also hired a black set designer. I know Phil has been knocking down barriers in the sound design area, but so it that was dope getting him out here, and then having Blanca, a Latina, do our lights. And
of course Wanda for costume.
Oh, of
So
course.
that's just like the stuff.
Auntie. So yeah.
And Lilo, who's just
Lilo,
it's an incredible stage
our
manager.
Stage manager.
Yeah, you did the math one day, right?
Uh-huh.
Of how many
I did do
people
the
of
math.
color were involved in the show.
Yeah, I broke. I mean, I don't remember them offhand, but I did the numbers of for the production team, for the cast,
Right.
for the behind the scenes, and then also how many of them were of women. It's really good numbers.
Yeah. We did good on this one as far as representing and showing up for people whose voice and touch needs to be on this show. So that was dope. And I'm happy about that. And we're a success artistically and I believe financially. So
That's great.
making money and making dope art.
That's
There you
good.
Good shit.
At the same time.
At the same fucking time. But we'll see. It's theater. I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows? We'll see. So
As long as we don't have to, go into quarantine, we'll be all right.
that's true. Stay
Right.
away from that
Hopefully
Rona.
quarantine starts after the show
Yeah, that's what
closes.
I'm hoping that it starts I'm not hoping that it starts. But, yeah, exactly. After the run is over.
If it has to start.
Let the show in, please.
So when you guys first got the script, what were your first thoughts?
My first thought was we got to do this because this is a story that is hot, that has been going on for quite some time, but finds a way to speak to the nuance of it right now. I love the language of it, the poetry and the language of it really, really spoke to me. How these characters talk. I went and listened to, when doing my research on the play, I went and listened to Dominique speak about writing it. And she spoke about how she wanted to capture how young people speak, without editing it or anything. She wanted to unfiltered see how we spoke because she thought it was very beautiful and poetic. And she wanted to show them, or I guess us, because I'm still considered a young person, she wanted to show us how our voices are very much so just artistic, just as poetic as say Shakespeare or say as any any other whoever you can think of. So that's sort of what drew me to it. being from Confrontation, knowing that we're going to do shows by and about us. And Dominique Marceau's work is hot all around the country. You know, she got like 3 or 4 or 5 shows circulating around nationally right now.
We just saw they're doing Pipeline in Cleveland.
Well, I think they did in the fall. Yeah, I was just when I was looking up this, I was like, oh yeah, they did back in our hometown. So that's cool.
So she was hot. So I knew that the play would be great. I love the language. It was great timing for us. And so I was like, oh, great. You know, let's do this. Why wait? Let's go.
Yeah.
So I was interested because, you know, Pipeline, they references the school to prison pipeline, right?
Correct.
And it kind of subverts your expectation of what's going to happen because of that title. I'm just curious about like how you felt about that. I mean, it was interesting because you expect Omari is going to either, you know, end up in jail or dead or something, you know? Yeah. So
yeah. I personally love, like, because Damaras kept saying that, like, throughout the whole process, like, okay, they're gonna think that you're dead, like right now, you know, this is your bankroll moment, you know, this is we had bankroll ghost moments, and so I that just drew me more to it, you know what I mean, because of course you go in it thinking and reading that, okay, this is probably what it's going to be like, and it's not exact. It's actually more of how it is in real life. It's actually more nuanced. It's not so like you fucked up, you go to jail. It's like, okay, you like there's levels to it, and she shows through her writing the levels of it and how it goes from the one incident that really like disturbs the troubled young Black student, and then the rage or the just impulsive reaction, and then how that one impulsive reaction is then sort of like generalized over this whole kid's life and person. And he's demonized or she's demonized all because of this one impulsive action that is justified based on other shit. And so, so it's great how she nuances it.
And when reading the script, I also expected that Omari would die or go to prison, or somebody would die, or something terrible would happen to them. And not to say that terrible things don't happen in the story of Pipeline, but I didn't expect it to be as regular, like you said, right?
Sure.
And I appreciate also that in this storytelling, I feel like if you just clicked over one person of all the characters in the script, you'd have a similar shitty 2 days of life. Like everybody's having equally, well, maybe not equally, but their own shitty time for similar and different reasons, but they're all connected in this world. And which is, it sounds so such a fucking bummer, but it's also so fucking beautiful because
it's so beautiful.
It's just, we're all that one step away from completion or from healing or from going over the edge, you know? And I'm mostly in the recent past concerned with bringing new scripts that have not been produced before to life. And so coming to this piece, and like you said, you know, she's a very popular playwright right now. I mean, I used to, you know, producing, you know, working on new productions of like nobody, you know, or just maybe a couple people might know the playwright like locally, you know, whatever. So for me, you know, the first question was, well, you know, what is it that here, you know, what are we looking at here that's going to be worthwhile? You know, what can we unpack for this audience here that is going to resonate? And you know, and I also really do think that in working with any script, whether it's a new script or a piece that's been out for a long period of time, that it is true that the working relationships and what things that you know you're curious about within it, that will hold the foundation for what's happening. And I was so proud and pleased that happened here, because there was like, you know, I also love the story in this larger story of this production of Pipeline that you know, Ruben being who was our set designer, having been a teacher for many Confrontation theater people in the past
Yeah.
was brought by Confrontation Theatre to do the set. And so to me, that is like another part of the story, which keeps this universe, this little,
This pipeline.
alive and dynamic as well. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our intersectionality, like the different ways that we like cross and come back, you know, helping or not helping or inspiring, or we don't even know we inspire, or we don't even know how we inspire, or maybe the inspiration doesn't even manifest for, years later.
Yeah.
Or
I got an email from a student recently about like that she was going into her 6th grade year, and I was doing the Fall Festival of Shakespeare at the Portland Playhouse, and I'm directing at her school, and she just had this like personality that was like, I was like, oh, you are a stage manager, like everything in your essence is like stage management, and that's exactly what she wanted to do. And I was like, okay, great. Gave her the gig, helped her like kind of like show her like this is kind of what it is, gave her some basics. Time passes. Now she's going into her 9th or 10th grade year in high school, and she emails me like, oh my God, like you spurred the love of theater for me. I would have never done this if you would have never given me the shot. Thank you for taking a chance on this 6th grade, weird kid who just wanted to be in theater. I was like, damn.
You're finding the stage managers too.
Yeah.
I know. And I was like,
We need
and
that.
she's going to be, man, like, she's going to be so great. Like,
You can tell the type sometimes too.
You can tell.
Yeah,
You can tell,
yeah.
man. You can tell. And they just got to want it themselves. And she did. And she pursued it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
So, yeah. So you never know who you touch. And I love the intersectionality.
Right. What was it like working with these actors as a director? I'm just curious. Like, how did you build intimacy between them? Because each of these characters has a very specific relationship.
Yeah. What was it like? What
Yeah,
was it like working with these actors?
I think that actors, being an actor first myself, right? Generally speaking, it is true that an actor is going to want to make sense of the world that they're in, even when it's sometimes a nonsensical world. Not that Pipeline is a nonsensical world, but that need to make these stories, and whether or not they translate directly to what the audience sees, that's like part of the process of it. So I just basically let y'all talk to each other. I mean, I don't think that there's any one right way, but I knew that I had so much brilliance in the room and so much good training and intuition that it would be silly of me not to ask at the start of every rehearsal, so any new thoughts? How's it been? What's new? What's shaken? And I mean, it's gonna make my work and everyone else's work easier, I feel. I mean, if you cast good people, right, in who feel that they have the potential, and you see that as well, then it's just like keep creating conditions so that they can dig in, because the brains of 6 people are always going to be way more than my brain. So, but I'll take the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's a good answer.
I just have to say, I thought the video design was real great. Especially the doors at the very beginning too, like people coming through them and all that. I really, really, specifically that opening sequence, the choreography of that whole thing felt like it really set the stage, and it really spoke to me to the title too of the Pipeline, because it was like it looked like just an institutional place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like it could be anywhere, and that was really cool. What was the idea with the video design? Is that written into the script with do they say that the words are projected from the poem, or was that more of a directorial decision?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the script gives us a lot of leeway. There is one thing that struck me when I read it was the expression undefined space. So sometimes there were situations where the top of the scene would be so-and-so is in undefined space. I was like, awesome. Great. This is what we're starting with. There is suggestion of videos at some places in the script, but they're not necessarily the places that we put the script. The video. And there is also suggestion of the poem, but how we ended up using the poem with video was, I and also since I come from more of a world of working with new scripts, I am, and maybe it's like a sham, or maybe I'm hiding, but I don't ever look at another production or research anything, because that's not the world I'm used to being in. So I can't really say what what has happened other places. I also with the video is important to me. I mean, the suggestion in the script was fights, kids having fights at the top of the play for sure. Kids at school fighting, and although we had one burst of that at the very, very top, the rest of them, it became increasingly important to me that it be that, just young Black kids doing young Black kid life. Like, there wasn't like we're fighting or we're yelling something. It's just but I feel that how our media and how we receive things in this culture is such fear of, even when you're walking, past the bus stop or whatever, and there's some some young guys with hoodies on hanging out, and you're like, I don't know. And that whole, I don't know, just keep giving those images. It's not one way or the other. And I feel that's a lot of what we unpack in Pipeline. It's like none of the characters are pure. None of the characters are making all the worst choices or all the best choices, right? And we, I think, identify with all of them in some way. They're all part of us. And so I feel like that opportunity to check yourself, like how am I reacting when I see that video on the door of just these kids playing basketball? But I hear the music. I mean, one of my favorite parts, Phil, amazing sound design.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't have to say that every time.
No, but it's true.
Yeah,
It's
true. It is true.
Yes.
That the montage is just video of people at a school, like the principal and like an older teacher, setting up the metal detectors. Yeah, right? Yeah. And the juxtaposition with this music that sounds like maybe it's kind of aggressive. I mean, it's at least loud, and it's moving somewhere. And what we're seeing is nothing actually aggressive happening. It's people moving the metal detectors and some tables into place, like really super casually, like nothing's happening. But to me, that's way more aggressive and insidious than the music or the images of the kids playing basketball or any of the pushing the teacher into the smart board or any of the actions that happen. And that's another thing that in the script, we don't actually ever see any violence. We don't actually ever see any of the things that are referred to in the script, which is an unusual situation to me for a script. It's like, well, where's the action? Like, what's happening here? Like, everything is referred to that happened somewhere else, right?
Yeah. And it's surprising, too, to hear that Omari, the way that you play him, has done what they say he's done, because he seems normal or even reserved more than most people, you know? So it's, and that really, like you were saying, like, none of these people are pure in any way. It's not like this kid's out of control. He just too much, you know? It was just too much, So,
and I was talking with Ruben later about the Doors, and this is after we had the Doors, and he pointed out the farce element of, like, four doors on a wall, and I was like, yeah, that's what's up, right? It's a farce. I mean, it's not a farce, but it's a farce, right?
Well, I mean, even that first section when you guys are coming in and out of the doors, it's real Scooby-Doo.
I really liked that. When that happened, I was like, all right, I'm into this now. Let's do the show.
Good.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I remember being like creating that moment. Like when you're in it, it's kind of like, okay, like, should I come through the door fast? Like, what's happening? Like, how should I
having a sense of the
this
whole
moment? And when my understudy was doing his run one time, and I got to sit in the audience, and I was like, oh, I see what. Okay, I get it. Yes, yes, I get it.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's why trust your coach.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
That's why I pay you the big bucks, coach. That's it.
So, how much do you see of yourself in Omari?
A lot. All but yeah, I can't even say what not. I, like Omari, was almost expelled from. Well, I think he's going to get expelled, but I was almost expelled from high school when I was around 17, 18. I didn't go to a prep school, but I believe had I lived in a city where that was an option, like a true prep school, my mom probably would have considered it. My mom was a teacher as well, single mother, doing her thing. I don't think I could consider myself an angry black man, but of course, like, you know, the black experience, although it is not monolithic, there are a lot of similarities, you know, around the country. So yeah, so I see a lot of myself in him, which was part of the challenge of approaching him as an actor, which was, you know, how do I go up on stage and not be Tevin? How do I go up here? So I had to focus on the differences between us. Was the big things. Like,
what did you find?
How he gets nervous and when he gets nervous, how he handles fear. I have, interestingly enough, have been playing a lot of these roles with troubled fathers or with troubled father-son relationship, you know, that thing. Although my father wasn't in my life, we're pretty cool. Like, I can go and I can talk to him and we clown and we talk shit all the time. Like, and at the same time, I've never had a man reprimand me like a father, like, reprimand me. You know, like, I've had coaches, you know, do their thing, but not like real personal life, you know. And so playing that was also something to kind of like, how, like, where does that live in my body when my daddy comes up to me ready to like choke the shit out of me? Because I've never been in that situation. And so it's like, okay, my mama is like, she would just punch me in the chest. So what is that feeling like as I see the punch coming? You know what I mean? Like, and so like, I'm trying to figure, okay, so what's different between us and how can I play those differences? Because the similarities will just show, because it just is what it is. So I spent my time focusing on the difference between us, and it helped. And
the relationships were huge, and the characters so like full and colorful, and especially when like Omari's father comes into the picture, there's something like when he like shows up in the play, there's something about it that just cracks open. Like it's like the missing, because like, you know, your mom's been talking to him on the phone, you get all this context about who this guy is, and then he shows up, and it just like kind of the whole thing just like takes off in a whole nother way. And I mean, partially because Reggie's like a strong actor and was doing a great job up there, but also there's something about that element that everyone's kind of wondering about is finally in the room, and then the relationship, and then his interaction with the security guard. Oh my God. I was like, I think I know what's going on. And I was like, oh, they're in the same room now. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on right now. And then it was like happened. I was like, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
How often you see that on stage?
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was really interesting to see that image of three black men just there and just like navigating each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that was just a really interesting thing, because usually when you see black men on stage together, there's some relationship that's built. They either know each other or they have beef with each other or something like that. But it was just like they're just there discovering each other.
Yeah, because of
because of the situation.
Situation. Yeah, I wish I could see that
moment.
part.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm down there. Like, I've gotten over it now, but like at first I'm like, damn, that's funny. I know it's funny, and I can just feel it. I know it's funny, and like I can just feel it. So I'm sitting there like, I gotta focus.
Right.
But
Yeah, y'all earned that moment.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You just milk it as much as you want.
Oh, good. Can I milk the end?
So that moment in particular, is that something that you guys discovered in the space, or how did that moment come about? Yes.
Stairs.
It was some of your stair rehearsal.
Be a part of theater mathematics.
Oh,
Theater
right.
math.
TM.
Yeah.
This
What's
seems like
theater mathematics? What's this?
You want to explain it,
You
Coach?
can't talk about it on the air yet?
Yeah, TM. No, it's just
Which-
stairs. Because just, my brain often will go, I call it theater math.
Theater mathematics, baby.
Theater math. And just the height differential, the mass differential between the three of you,
Yeah.
and the ability to be taller because of the steps, even if you're not bigger, or then become much smaller, is just, it just creates an even deeper layer of what is there. Like, it helps us visually process all of the things that are happening there. So without even having to make big crosses or do anything at all demonstrative, just even that gentle, one step up, one step down.
It's like
Theater
what? So
mathematics
it's
trademark.
like it's the idea of that like thing, and I love how she explains it. It's the idea that like a tall person next to a short person is just funny.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
like
Yeah.
I think there's the truth that like jokes with the letter K in it get more laughs than any
I've
other
heard
letter.
about that too.
You know
Like
what I mean?
the
It's
funny
just like
words.
right. It's like certain things that just work and you don't really know how or why.
Well,
but
and
it's
a
just
diagonal is always stronger than a straight line.
Right.
In the theater, right?
right. Yeah.
Red evokes.
Sure, yeah.
And that's because of our Western upbringing and
Right.
something about how we use our eyes and our animal nature. I would say that we could check that off as to why all of these things work. In addition to the incredible container of the text and these just half a page of ellipses, right? And it's like, here's some actors who will work those ellipses.
That's the thing, man. That's the thing about like scripts like this. Like there's a lot like it'll be ma ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. I don't ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. That's it.
The play that's in here right now, Found Dog, the show I'm working on. Also, you'll have half a page of ellipses going back and forth, and you're like, "Come on now."
That's the playwright going.
Yeah, but what a
figure
gift!
it out. That's
what
What
it
a
is.
gift!
It's so good.
Figure
It's
it
so
out.
good.
Figure it out. So
good.
thank you, Dominique. If you hear
Yes.
this, thank you.
Um,
Appreciate that.
You said you were mentioning working on the stairs. Did you have to find stairs for rehearsal?
No, we were so lucky we had that set from the beginning.
Oh, you were able to work on it from the
Yes.
beginning. Good. Yeah, because those stairs right there. I spent a lot of time on those stairs, but we didn't rehearse in this room, and
Oh, wow.
it was different. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time sitting there and listening, and as the character I'm playing, and so it was. I don't know. There's something about stairs make a world of difference, and it is so nice when you get to rehearse in the space you're working on the
So
set.
grateful,
It's
so
huge.
grateful.
Yeah. The production, just sort of like scheduling and build on this was really great.
It was amazing.
Even
Yeah.
having Ruben kind of like coming out for the very beginning of it and then coming back for like the tech part of it, we still like we got stuff up and ready, and we even had props ready like pretty early on.
Good.
Yeah.
Then you could do your bed choreography.
Yes. Yes.
There's so much choreography in this play.
Yeah, well choreographed. Yeah,
Yeah.
those doors really make it possible to like have that like quick switch of place without having to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I'm still offended by the curtains.
Yeah.
though.
Oh yeah. The offensive curtains.
Yeah.
The
What, on the
curtains.
side?
Yeah. The curtains on the side. Those are the offensive curtains.
So what's? I mean, I know what you're talking about. I don't know why you find them offensive. Do they break the illusion of the sides or something? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm like OCD when I get into it, but
That's your job.
everything, the whole world that Ruben created is these beautiful right angles. Like the entire
okay.
set is austere. It has right angles. There's nothing superfluous. It is, just to the point. And then there's these soft folded curtains. And I'm like,
Like black
you
velvet.
don't belong
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah.
You do not belong here.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
as an audience member, it didn't break the illusion for me.
Good.
So, but I can understand now that you say why it was upsetting you.
I really
As a
love
director.
that magic door we got far left.
Oh yeah.
That magic. I love that. You just like push it and I can just walk in
Isn't
there.
it? It's like magic. Every time I'm like, how did he do
I
that?
love it. I love it.
So
I
good.
love the
It
magic.
just
door.
like it's a really hung well, so you can just like give it a little push and it opens all the
yeah,
way.
And it's yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it makes that moment so much better
It
when you're just
does.
like, when it's just like, ooh.
It
Yeah,
does.
just show.
I wondered how that happened. I thought someone was like,
No,
had,
that's
like,
me,
some
bro.
mechanism.
No, I just
You
I
just
just, I
push
just
it,
give
it
it
does
just a little, like
In the right place. It's the magic
like
touch.
in
That's
the Dark
awesome.
Knight, you know how the Joker just push.
Yeah.
You know? That's what I do. Just a little push.
I
Then I
once,
go.
I did this show once. I did this show once where it was set in the antebellum South and it was a slave revolt and I was passing for white. You can imagine. And I did this dramatic like exit, like up this staircase, like they built, the staircase like through this like this door to, the upstairs. But it was really just this tiny little, balcony space behind the door, and you had to stay there for the rest of the act because there was nowhere else to go.
Stairs down.
There were no stairs down. But then I would re-enter at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
And so I, did my big exit through the door, and I slammed the door behind me, but I slammed it too hard, and it went past like where it was supposed to be, and I knew that. So the act is continuing, and I'm like, but I can't draw attention to this door, and so finally it's like I'm supposed to make my entrance, and I'm like, I can't open it. So I just continued to pull it towards me and squeeze, and I had this giant hoop skirt. No, I made it with my hoop skirt. I did.
Oh, I know.
I did. I got myself through it.
That's amazing.
Well, the show was a melodrama. The show was a melodrama, so it all
as
worked.
long as you played it
that's
off when
beautiful.
you got
Oh,
in.
that's great.
Good.
So funny the idea of just putting that little balcony up behind that door, that stage door, and be like, "No, don't worry about any stairs or anything."
They're like, she'll be fine.
She'll be fine.
She can stay there for 40 minutes. She's fine.
That's
Had
awesome.
some cards back there.
Yeah, sure.
So that brings me to just your start in theater. So you were an actor first, or how did you start in theater?
How did I start in theater?
Yeah.
Origin story.
Okay, so my parents before I was even born were here in Portland, and they were part of this great books group where they would discuss. There's a great book series, right? And so Shakespeare is included in that. And so they, in the discussion group, as young couples without children, that summer, whatever summer that was, one of the books they were discussing was a Shakespeare play that was being produced down in Ashland. So they were like, oh, we're, our whole discussion group, we're going to do this road trip down to Ashland. And that started this group, which still continues to this day. But at its height, when I was a young child, was like 200 people would go down together from this great books group. And they would have, read all the plays beforehand, all the Shakespeare. We would always see all of the Shakespeare. And we stayed at in the dorm at Southern Oregon because we were an educational group, and, and then have discussions. So I grew up knowing that this was a really important thing. And I remember when I was finally old enough, because they would get babysitters who would stay with us kids while they went to go see the plays, to finally see a play. And so I always knew it was important. And then when I was 8 years old, we went for 2 years to live in Botswana, where there was no electricity and certainly no theater. And my parents, with some other expatriates, decided that they would do a play, produce a play. And for some reason, they picked Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. I have no idea of all the plays in the whole world I know, of all the plays that could be in the whole world. And my dad, who was very black, played Hans Christian Andersen. And I got to play Wenky the Robber Girl. And they found a church that wasn't being used, and they brought in porta potties, and that's where they did the performance. And it was such a singular event. I mean, there was no theater there, that the president's wife of Botswana, Lady Kama, came to see the play. And that night that she came to see the play, and she had like the sash, and she had her security guards and the whole consort, that we had to practice a special bow to her in addition to the group. So that was really, in the third grade, I got to play the Bionic Woman in the school play. But
pretty good role.
I really count that Wenky the Robber Girl in Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen in Botswana for Lady Kama as my great debut.
Yeah, that's a great one. Damn.
Yeah.
How do you top that?
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a moment where you were like, I'm interested in theater?
Yeah, I had one. I'm just thinking about when it was. Man, to be honest, the first draw was the women. Like, I'm not going to even hold you up. I was like,
Thank you for not
Everyone
holding me up.
pushed that on me when I was getting into theater. It's like, a lot of girls doing theater. I'm like, okay,
it
cool.
worked, bro, because it works for some people.
For some guys.
Well, so because I didn't do it in high school at all. So I played ball. I was a student athlete pretty much all of high school. Got in trouble 12th grade. Almost got suspended from school, or expelled from school. And I was originally going to go to be a lawyer. You know, I was thinking about either law or like as like a third or second option, like dental hygiene or something like that. You know, I had terrible teeth, and so I was like, I'll learn how to fix teeth and then fix my own teeth.
Interesting.
Whatever. So I was like, okay, a lawyer or, you know, some sort of, you know, that sort of thing. And I had good grades, and then I got suspended, and then those grades slipped, and I wanted to go to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Didn't have the good enough grades to get into there. I was like, okay, maybe Florida State. Couldn't get into there, so I was like, well, shit. Then I'm trying to figure my life out. I go down south and do this film. I just like do this like explore talent. It's like you know, like those talent search things, profiles. So I did like exploretalent.com, created a profile, got called to come and do a film in South Florida. It's like, okay, I'll come and do it, and I did it, and it was cool. And on set, some of the guys were like, hey, man, you got a really nice voice. You got some nice instincts. You should go to school and learn this so you know what you're doing. And I was like, I just learned the lines. What you mean? Like, if you like what I did, I just learned the lines.
Learn how to do it more.
I just learned the lines. And so on the drive back up, it was like maybe like a 5-hour drive back home. And me and my mama was driving back, and she's like, so, Tev, what you think? It's like, it was cool. She was like, okay, what you thinking about after high school? It's like, I don't know, Mom. I'm still trying to figure it out. She was like, well, acting? Like, what you think? Like, if you go and study and get your degree, nobody can never tell you that you don't know what you're doing. So I was like, damn, why she got to make sense all the fucking time? So I was like, okay, all right. And then I got, I went and studied at FAMU. For those of you who don't know, FAMU is short for Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. It's an HBCU, historically black college / university, in Tallahassee, Florida. But yeah, so I went there and I studied theater, and that was, man, I remember like walking into the room and seeing like, damn, she's fine. Damn, she's smart. She's like, and like they're talented, bro. Like, I don't like. I had been around beautiful, smart women before, but I don't think I've been around so much talent as well. And that shit was attractive. I was like, yeah,
talent and drive.
And drive. Like, you know, they was like, you know, and they're like singing Broadway songs, you know, musicals that I had never heard before. But they are. I'm like, damn, y'all are singers. Like, they are like belting as they're just like combing their hair or something. You know what I mean? Just like walking down the hallway, picking up something off the floor as they're singing, you know, I Am Here or whatever. And it's, so I found it just attractive first with the women, to being honest. And then I think what it was, I realized I had always been an actor, just subconsciously.
Subversively.
Yeah. And so when getting the chance to go on stage, getting the chance to like play these roles, it was fun. It was exhilarating. It was like, oh shit, I like this. And so I think those two things kind of like helped get me in, and then just seeing dope shows, I was like, why not?
Yeah. What gave you the impulse to do that first like film thing?
Just honestly, just look. So there was like a combination of a couple things happened. So I almost got expelled. Had gotten into a little back and forth, and I guess that's the pretty way of putting it, with my basketball coach. The result of it was he pretty much benched me for the rest of the season. And I wanted to quit, but my homeboy was like, come on, man, it's our senior year, man. Let's like finish the year together. I was like, man.
Oh, hang out on the bench.
Right. Fuck this. Yeah. Okay. So not really, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with my last year. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she told me, she said, hey, I'm like, I had like all these TA classes, and like, so like, again, I was a great student. So I had like all these off periods. And so she's like, well, I'm walking to drama. Do you want to come with me? And I knew everything there was to know about our school. I was like Mr. Ambassador for our school.
Sure.
And I'm like, there is no drama program at our school. What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, there is. Like, I'm going to go to it now. You want to come? I'm like, yeah, because I think you fucking with me. So we go. And it was a drama class, and they're like reading The Taming of the Shrew, and the teacher, again, I know the teacher and everybody, she's like, oh, hey, let's have it. You want to come and sit with us today? It's like, sure, let's read. And so we're reading Taming of the Shrew, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I get to do all this and say all that. And so after doing that, I was like, well, let me see like how to get into acting.
Oh yeah.
Found the Explore Talent. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do this shit. Later learned, if you're listening to this and you're a young actor, don't do that.
Right, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Don't do that.
I know
Don't
it
do
may
that.
sound like it
Exactly.
worked for me, but
Wait,
It did for him.
That's
It
what
was
pops up when you
just
type in
an
how to get into acting on
Right,
Google because they
right.
paid for that.
It was
Exactly.
more his
Yeah.
drive that got him
Yes,
here
Exactly.
than Explore Talent.
Yeah,
That didn't
I got a degree.
And a series of fortunate.
And his mama,
Yeah.
mama
Very
talks some sense
mama.
into him.
Oh, it's
sensible
support.
mother.
That's
A
really
sensible
great.
mother is
Truly.
really great to have.
I mean, I think we should just take a moment for moms who support theater kids
Oh.
because that is rare.
Yes.
Love you, moms.
Love
Yeah.
you, mom.
Same. Love you, mom.
Wow.
I'm lucky to have that
Yeah.
support in my life too.
So,
Because so
yeah.
many people I know, their whole family's just like thinks they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it's hard to translate it, right?
Mhm.
I mean, when you say something like, dental hygienist. I mean, I don't really know what a dental hygienist does, but I've, experienced a dental hygienist when I've gone to the dentist. So I have and it's like a thing, right?
Right.
And I know I've been doing theater. I've been making original work since I was 15, right? Which is just only like a few years ago.
Right.
And for a short period of time in my life, I did fashion modeling, right? And my relatives around the country were way more excited about me appearing in a Sears circular than they were about me, producing and making an original work, which, I get. They couldn't travel
see it.
to come and see it. They didn't understand what that was. And they're like, oh, this is what you do. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but no.
I had a
Yeah.
I had a friend who did a stock photo shoot, and forever ago, and then suddenly Laura Ornella from our school, and she ended up on like a Samsung ad that was in like all these bus stops all over the country, and like people kept like tagging her all this shit, and at one point she made a post like, I've received more attention for this, which was a photo shoot that I got paid like $100 for like a long time ago, and it was stock photos, so I don't have any anything from this either.
Right.
But I also like made and toured a show across the country recently and did all this other stuff. It was kind of funny, What gets you visibility makes people think that you're successful, but it isn't necessarily success.
Yeah.
It's
And
interesting.
it's hard to translate if
Yeah,
you
exactly.
aren't familiar with going to the theater or asking those questions. How are you supposed to talk to somebody about that if you're not familiar with it? And that's why we have to have more young people and more diversity in theater.
in
Yeah.
the audiences
Yeah.
and on
Yo.
stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was crazy. My mom came and like she saw me a little bit in college, and it was like cool. It was still kind of more like school than like real theater. When she came, it was theater, but it wasn't. When she came to like a couple years ago and she saw me do Cassius Clay, that was her first time being out here,
Oh wow.
and she was like, "Oh, I see what you do.
Yeah.
Oh, you're like an actor. Like she's like,
Yeah.
yeah. She's like, okay, so you do shows, and she's like, so when you're not on stage, you're like figuring it out, like you're like moving from job to job, but like
The hustle.
yeah, like yeah. She was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, so she understand because before like when I go, okay, mom, I'm heading into the theater, she was like, okay, like what she never really knew what that meant. She was always has been
Right.
supportive. My mom, like in everything I've done, which is why like, Mom, I love you. She's always been supportive in everything, even if she didn't really know what it was. Like
Yeah.
like me and my mom's relationship was like, I always had drive as a kid, even as like a little kid, and so if I was like, ooh, I want to go play t-ball, she'd be like, well, what does it take or whatever. So I learned early, go and get all the information, come back and say, all I need is $30 and your signature right here. And then I tell her, here's what all of this stuff means. Here's what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, why. And when I learned, I've been doing that like literally since maybe like 3rd, 4th grade. I don't know.
Make it easy.
And just make it easy for her. And she's just like, okay, great. You want to be a part of the Rotary Club. You're going to go off and do this leadership camp for about 2 weeks and live in the woods. Okay. Where do I sign and how much do I pay? She's
Off
like,
my hands for 2 weeks.
Right.
Sounds good.
She's like, because she knows, like, I'm not finna go out and do nothing
Right,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my mom has always been supportive.
But yeah, it's interesting when there's that like moment where they're like, "Oh, you are doing it. I get it."
Yeah.
Because I kind of had that moment with my mom too, where she's always been super supportive. I've had people in my family who have acted to a certain extent too, but it was like she was the one who was always like, you should be like looking for another career too, like because like you gotta have something that you can rely on, which is great advice. But then like I had moved home and was working at Jimmy John's, like bike delivery, you know, not a great job, but like just making it happen. And I did like 4 shows in like a year. And she's like, "Oh, I get why you don't want to have a whole other career because you're actually trying to do something here."
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really cool moment because she had always been super, super supportive, loved everything I did, saw like a lot of it. But then it was just like that moment when she saw me like how much work it did take too, because I was living with them and like doing 20-hour week rehearsals on top of my job, and she got it, it was really cool. Yeah.
That's why you gotta get your people to see your stuff.
That's
man.
right.
Yeah, it's important.
See your stuff.
I had some friends recently who I've known for a little over a year now, and they just saw me in a show for the first time. They're like, "Wow, we had no idea, man. No idea." It's cool. It's cool.
Well, and I'm assuming that we all had liberal arts educations.
Yeah.
The necessity, I'm going to give us all mad props here, because to figure out this kind of hustle, and everybody has to keep themselves together, body and soul and psychically, right? But that to figure out how you can keep this hustle going, and it has been said to me by the very august gentleman that theater has the best on-time delivery of any industry. And when you think about that, like,
you can't be late.
And the curtain will go up. It will go up when opening night comes. It's not like, construction or any other thing where it's like, well, we thought it was going to be, but now it's actually, our grand opening is, no.
I'm amazed. There's never been something that I was like started a rehearsal process in that didn't end up on stage. You know what I mean? It's the curtain's going up. Once you start rehearsals, it's like things happen in one way or the other.
That would
man.
be shitty though if like you did a rehearse for 3.5 weeks or whatever, and they're like, "Sorry guys, ran out of money."
And I'm sure it's happened, but like for the amount of shows that I've done, to have like every time, and that's something I like. If I'm in a show or directing a show with kids or something, and they're like all worried, I'm like, "Look, I've never been in a show that didn't make it on stage, so like."
It's the
Don't
magic
worry.
of theater.
Something's going to happen. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
I mean, but it's real, and to have to be able to be an entrepreneur, to be able to market yourself, to be able to keep yourself afloat in all of the ways that means, and to show up, because that's ultimately what it's about, to show up.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's not, you don't just take this lightly, if you set this course and you commit to it, it's real.
Do you have like a list, speaking of pipeline, of things that has gotten you to where you are now? Like, looking back
contemplative dance practice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Could you talk to me about what that is?
I want to hear what you think it is.
Yeah, Phil went. He was telling me about it.
Yeah, I went this week. Well, I was saying to Clifton, there's a lot of authentic movement, and when you get to the part called open space, it's a lot like Viewpoints. Only it's what I said was.
So for people who don't know what that means, what was it?
Well, that's
Viewpoint. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother bag of
Well,
worms.
it's like a movement. So it's a movement practice of like to access yourself.
Yeah,
Is what I've gathered.
Sure. I mean, also there is the. Now we are in this time where we speak about theater as performance, which I appreciate, much as often people refer to spirituality instead of religion, right? And words are spells in our mouth. So like how we go about what it is we do, right? And that's why I also press for us to claim our entrepreneurship, to claim the fact that we are independent funders, whether we're solo actors or actual producers or whatever else. We are still these business people who have to pull all this together, right? And that looking at Viewpoints or looking at any of these somatics practices, I mean, that's where I would put them in. And so you have like different intersections, whether you come from a dance world or if you come from a theater world, and one thing that I would corral these many possible names and practices like Viewpoints or contemplative dance practice or authentic movement or, any of these, is that they are both a practice and a process. And it is increasingly, that's why I pointed to having a liberal arts education. I think it is increasingly important in our world to be able to have nuance and to be able to have something that is both and not duality, because we're being forced more and more and more and more. It's like, you are this and you fit into this box and this is how that will work. And that we are being forced more and more and more not to be able to be comfortable in gray space, to not know, to be able to hang out in not knowing. We have to have a quick response and we have to know. And this is where coming into Pipeline, I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
But I think
I don't know. I trust.
Yeah.
I trust these individuals. I trust this structure. I trust this script. I trust the brilliance of the people in the room.
Yeah.
I trust the Portland Playhouse and Confrontation Theatre supporting it. I trust that I have training and background and heart, but I don't know.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of the arts. I think theater, which is I stand by, is the most all-encompassing art. But I think that is the beauty of art, is that by engaging in it at a young age, you learn how to sit in the I don't know, or the that's the creativity. That's your creativity at work going, okay, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We just need to incubate right now. We need to step back and we need to go get some, some source material from somewhere.
Or
go get
putter.
some inspiration, or putter, or sit down and play Xbox, whatever it is, to get your mind off and come back. I think.
Yeah. And you have to trust it so much, because so many people working on it, like you were saying, it's it's such a collaborative art form. Everyone's working on it. And just like you were talking about earlier with getting to actually see someone else do your part walking in and out of those doors, it's you need to be able to see the whole hole before, and that you have to trust.
You got to trust.
You got to trust, because it's really hard when you're just one piece in it, and if you don't have a consciousness about everything else, and it's sometimes hard to gain that consciousness.
Which I will say, as the way in which we do theater, at least now for the most part in Portland, I wish, me and Damaras talked about this, we start Tech Week a week earlier than we actually do it, so that the last week before, that week leading up to the first preview, we can get a chance to really just run it with everything, because that is the true rehearsal. We don't really rehearse except for 3 times before the audience.
Yeah.
And that's fuck. That's we're losing out.
Also, though, I the other side of that coin is, though, it's not really the show until the audience is there.
That's true too.
And what I have conflicting feelings about long runs, because sometimes I'm I just want this thing to be, I don't want to keep doing this. But you do find so much. And when you're a 6-week run or a 5-week run or something, week 3, you're oh, So there is something really great about that. But also, I agree. I've been in so many shows where it's your run in front of the first audience is your second run, or maybe your first run,
maybe
without stopping,
right.
And it happens, which is exciting, but terrifying.
Well, but I mean, I think Tevin was pointing to all the technical support and all the other aspects that once the show is open, hypothetically, you are this is what is set.
You're ready. This is the show.
But to really have, I mean, Phil and I have worked on a handful of shows together. So coming into this, we had a point of reference and things that we already knew we were both really interested in moving into. So that's a huge blessing, right? And to be able to really collaborate and have these conversations, as opposed to do good work and get the things up, but to actually juice into it and go, okay, this is great, and what if this okay, that didn't work as well, but that works really well, let's keep that part, move that around there, to where you're really, and this also comes into what now is referred to as devising, but I just fucking knew it was making work shit, but this way of if we are going to start to prod the idea of a non-hierarchical situation, if we're really going to have horizontal and equal value of the different elements of the theater with respect to the boundaries that the script gives us or like this is where that conversation can come in. And what a blessing it is to even have a week of tech and then previews, as opposed to I've been in those ones too. It's like, okay, here we go, we're opening tomorrow, this is our tech.
And to even be like you were saying in your space and on your set, like that helps horizontalize everything, because like the whole thing where sometimes it's like a tech heavy show, it's like that last week it's not for anyone performing on stage, it's for the people who are making it happen, which is fair because they only have a week to do it, but like that's the time crunch, you know. So
that's what's so interesting about tech, is that you really do kind of come, like, what you want to do, like you have the ideas in your mind, but when you get to tech week, you're like, this is my time to actually make those decisions. And so there's not much time. And so you have to get really good at being able to make a lot of decisions really fast.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because, I don't know, I've been on stage, and when you're on stage, it's, maybe I'll try doing it like this, or maybe, I found this thing that should get a laugh, right? That kind of thing, that kind of way of working where you can kind of keep trying. But Pipeline in particular is a great example of, let's just try this. I think I like it.
You only get so many runs. As a sound designer, you only get so many runs.
Like if it's not the thing by the third day of tech, you don't get another pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you only get to try, like for instance, music. You only get to try music one time, maybe twice.
Right?
Yeah.
And
hope
which
that
is
you get
so
some
not
feedback
fair.
on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
Yep.
is so not
Not
fair.
fair at
Hope that they
all.
remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's
And you know if
true,
it's right, and you
right?
know it's wrong, and so you just have to be really good
Yeah.
at knowing when it's wrong and
Yeah.
having a replacement ready to go.
Yeah. I think as theater artists, I've been seeing it happen more, and since I've gotten some training in devising or whatever, like the whole idea of getting designers in the room a little bit earlier and working with some of those elements a little bit earlier.
It
you know
makes
what
for
I mean?
just a better show.
It does,
man.
because I mean, as an actor, you're reacting to everything around
Yep.
you.
And you and it would be great if it had a designer like Blanca, our light designer, came in so many rehearsals.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there like, oh, you're
that's
going to
so
play that
nice.
like that? Okay, well then to do that, to like that, I'm going to need to do this. And so Phil, where are you going to put your sound thing?
Right.
Because and like she's already percolating
That's
these
great.
ideas,
And that goes to something Damaras was just saying, where what's been great about kind of the collaborations we've had in this community, in this specific theater community, is that as designers, actors, producers, and directors, we know each other. We know what to expect from each other. And so we get into the room and we can kind of just shorthand our way towards creating. And you need to do that when you have these short processes that
That's how you build that
4
trust.
weeks, man. I don't think people realize that like we put up these immense, powerful moving productions in really sometimes in like 3 weeks, because that fourth week is not about the acting. You know what I mean? So it's not about it, like the storytelling is getting more technical now.
And I do want you to remember that I gave you 2 days off each week.
She did.
I did.
2
whole
days.
days.
Off next to each other.
honestly, we should document this rehearsal calendar that you created, because you
use it as a template.
it was just
good.
It was 5 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, and the show we got is tremendous.
I like that. Concentrated work. Give you some time off.
Yeah.
Because time off is so hard to
Coach.
come by.
What you need, that's where that Xbox or that is totally underrated, that you need that time. I mean, I also asked you guys to come in off book.
That's true.
Because just get that out of the way. I mean, you're not going to,
Learn your lines, actors. Learn your lines.
But then we can all actually start to have conversation. We can all start to actually be in the room together, trying different questions around the situation, right?
Yeah, I love devising with Damaras. Just so y'all know, this is an OG deviser right here. Like, trained with the Mary Overly, the creator of the Viewpoints practices. Or is it
The
practice or
original one.
practices? Is it plural or singular? Viewpoints practice?
Is it practice?
Those are those. Was that the original 6 viewpoints?
7.
Oh, the original 7. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
Oh, good. So I knew my
It is the 6
history.
viewpoints. I'm sorry.
You know, that's fine. Yeah.
So
those are the original dance viewpoints before the Bogart
22.
ones.
Yeah. Well, and that's how it goes. You adapt, you adopt,
Yeah.
you move on. Mary devised the 6 viewpoints just before I reached NYU, and what a heady time in the late 80s. I mean, they were there in the 70s in New York City, and that line between dance and theater performance, and what it is to devise, to create original work. And to just start to codify things, right? And then when Anne Bogart came to NYU and she met Mary, then to adapt and adopt that terminology more specifically for theater as opposed to performance, right?
Yeah.
And but then theater became more performance, and so the 6 viewpoints.
So who is the inventor of contemplative dance practice?
Contemplative dance practice is Barbara Dilley.
Okay.
Who danced with Mary. I mean, Barbara has her very own, life in the arts. But I met Barbara Dilley at Naropa University, which is where I did my MFA, and I met Mary at NYU at the Experimental Theater Wing, which is where I did my undergraduate.
Okay.
Cool.
See that? OG, boy.
right.
OG.
Yeah, I really appreciate the viewpoints because of it giving that vocabulary to movement and being able to break things down. As an actor, I learned the 9 viewpoints originally, and I mean, because I've always found music to be like, weird to say, but like the ultimate art form, because you can like completely write it down and you can completely just play it on your own, and it's completely emotion, and it's completely you're able to document it in a way that's we can play stuff that was written 1500 years ago. So to be able to have a language, a vocabulary to work with is just so important. I found that really cool. So
and it's a really great tool for teaching, especially young people, because when you get a bunch of young bodies in the space, they most likely are stiff, or they're not fully lived in, or they don't know how to move. And so to take them and put them in something like Viewpoints gives them all of this access that they never knew they had before.
Break it down.
And so it's such a powerful tool.
Well, and I mean, I guess we could point to that just in anything in our lives, right? Like how we just kind of throw our bodies or our minds or our hearts through the world, and we seem to have this fear of just slowing down and naming what's happening. And that's really it. I mean, it's the thing about Viewpoints practice, or many of the somatics practices, is that they're just they're your body. I mean, there's no technique.
There's
and
no
that's
awareness of self, is what
right,
it is.
right. And that because there's no technique, the whole TM situation and the whole like, well, I will teach you the thing. That's not the thing. It's the underneath the thing. It's the stripping away of the thing, and the saying what is actually there, right? Can we put that in just a YouTube video?
Sure,
Right,
but that speaks to like that being perceptive and having a consciousness of the world around you, that you can use those things that are from your culture, whether you're aware of it or not, being that being your influence,
right? Or just like the video design of referring to the just kids playing basketball. But it's just the metal detectors, but all of the story we bring with it, whether collectively and individually, it gets to say a lot more than just that 2 seconds of whatever.
Right, that makes sense. You should write a book about this.
That's what Don said. He's like, we're gonna write a book, theater mathematics.
Yeah, I'm gonna help pitch in my little like this. Talk about that.
That's what OG's gotta do, right?
That's right. That's right. So then we can always say your name, the inventor of theater mathematics, Damaras Webb, who was trained by the inventor of Viewpoints
Damaras, I know
practice.
Damaras.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We can
Peace,
be
For real.
Yeah, exactly.
real.
I just want to be the person who knows the person.
If not a book, at least just get like an audio. Sit down like a thing and just sit there for like 2 hours and just say, here is what I believe about theater mathematics.
A manifesto.
Oh, there we go.
A
Oh,
manifesto.
I think every artist should write their own manifesto. And I think I'm just going to drop this. This is something that I learned from that I received from Barbara Dilley as a homework assignment, was to read autobiographies of artists that you thought, they didn't have to be in your field, but artists that you somehow had some, spark from. And in that also as well, read manifestos and then make your own. And you can adapt, adopt, and change, whatever. But just, the inspiration of looking at those who have come before us and in whatever way, it's like they had, we fortunately, unfortunately, are like, I am my own universe of experience. But also to be inspired and to take, from whatever source we can. Can we, what we didn't talk about that I really do want to talk about is that we didn't talk about, we pointed at it a little bit about how, like having a Black set designer, right?
Yeah.
Or like having more diversity in the design team. And I really feel that until we have, and I know I've preached at y'all, maybe not so much you yet, but about how until we have diversity in from producing to casting, like let's start up there. Yes, we have some diversity in playwrights, but until we have diversity in the directors, but in the designers as well, because that conversation that we were all pointing at, how useful and necessary that is to really give a show its full breadth and really say what's up with that show, that until if you're only brown washing or yellow washing the cast, you're still not engaging that way. And that we need to bring up here more Black and brown and yellow bodies in those areas, and how do we set up situations for that to be successful? I got to find out who that 6th grader who's now a 9th grader that you were talking about before is. But that's the thing that I want to plug. It's not a show, but I just want to plug that.
I think it's really important because what I've learned is that there's this kind of dynamic between people who are on stage and the people who are off stage creating the offstage work, and it really is a dialogue. And so when you're trying to create a really specific type of work, it's important to have people, more diverse voices on the side of the people who are off stage. Because especially for instance, especially if you're trying to do something specific like culture or period or something like that, you want as many people who really understand that perspective on both sides. And I've learned how valuable that is, because when I'm sitting on my side and we're doing a play about Black people, I'm seeing all kinds of things that either ring true or don't to me, and we never talk about that enough, where a lot of times I can imagine these processes where you're doing a Black play and you don't have many Black people on the other side. You can easily fall into the trap of, well, that looks like the movies, so that's right, instead of that looks like home.
Right. Right.
And so that's just been something I've noticed recently. So I totally understand what you're talking about, because the more Black people we get on the creative teams, the more Black people we get into the producing, the more we can really start to groom our stories. Because it's not just enough to tell the story; you have to groom it so that it feels right to you.
And man, that I will always preach that the more specific and very defined the art, the more universal the impacts and the themes. The more you can just say, "This is what my hood is like. This is what my upbringing is like." Some other culture, no matter where you are, will go, "Oh yeah, my slum look just like your hood," and we do the same thing, me and my friends, or whatever the case may be. So I'm always about specificity. You know what I mean? Be specific, and be intentional about being very, this is who we are and what we are and why we are,
and the conversations and the reference point.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Seems like a good time to take a break.
You can find Radical Listening from Virtual Sonic Reality on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. So find us on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe to follow along. While you're there, why don't you just go ahead and give us 5 stars? You know you love us, and we love you too. So thanks for listening, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back. It's everyone's favorite part of the show, headlines.
Headlines.
Headlines. And so this is the part of the show where we're going to say a headline and you guys can just respond to the headline, and we can just talk about what we are seeing in the news. the first headline is 38% of Americans won't buy Corona beer under any circumstance because of the coronavirus.
It's
American ignorance.
So,
yeah.
Does anyone know how coronavirus got its name? I don't either.
oh, because it's like a
Does it
type
look like a
of
sun?
it's
Or is
like a
it
type of virus.
Oh, I've heard there's been a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been them before.
Oh.
So they're saying that it is a coronavirus.
So do you think that they were in like the meeting when they were like gonna like put the name to it, like a shortening? They were like, so do you guys drink Corona? Like, what do you think about like? Do you think they considered the drink, or do you think they were just like?
I think Corona would say no.
Right.
Because 38% of Americans won't even drink it
That's
now.
a big, yeah. That's
well,
a big
I
cut.
wouldn't drink it anyway,
That's
so
true.
that
It is good. So yeah, I don't know. Coronavirus is kind of
Taking off.
it's taking off.
That's what they
Blowing
say.
up. Big
20.
wave.
I don't believe it.
You don't believe
What-
it's
what-
real?
I don't believe it's real.
What do you mean you ain't
Get the
believe it's
fuck
real?
outta
What
I
here.
is-
don't
You need to come at
believe
this
it's
with some
real.
intelligence.
I don't believe that it is as deadly or as potential of a pandemic as it is professed to be.
Now, I also would wager that that could also be propaganda, because that is what the Chinese government has been saying. Even though there is an epidemic going on, they're like, no big deal, no big deal. And I've also heard that there might be other people with coronavirus in this area, because and
You mean like Portland?
in like Portland, in like this
Oh,
area,
shit.
because there was the one in Lake Oswego recently, and I heard some other people like anecdotal evidence about going to a hospital and seeing some people in like hazmat suits and whatnot. So there is an idea that it's actually being underplayed, because we know that Donald Trump got rid of the person who's in charge of pandemics at the CDC. So they actually don't know what's
And
going
Mike
on.
Pence
And they're
is
like,
in charge
yeah,
now.
Mike Pence is in
That
charge.
just makes me feel safer about
Pray
everything.
the
Yeah.
virus away, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah, I don't think it's real, man.
you don't think it's real, though?
I don't think it's real. I think that it is at least definitely on the part of Americans something to it's money. It's about money. It's that it's
But
on
the
the part of
the World Health Organization says it's real. You don't trust the World Health
says
Organization?
it's
You don't
real?
trust who?
No,
Who says it's
I don't
real?
trust who. No, I don't trust who. They also, gave black people AIDS.
Well,
I don't trust none of them. I'm telling you, as
it's
a black
not in
person,
Africa. Is it in Africa? Do
it's
we
in
know?
Egypt. It's in
It's-
Egypt.
well, there's like three
they say
cases,
it's in
I think.
Egypt. They say.
There's 3
But
cases.
it did not come from Africa.
No.
Oh no.
No.
Well, it apparently came from like bats.
Bats.
See,
That's
come
what I
on,
heard.
man. Come on.
Bats?
man.
Bats be growing all sorts of nasty shit in the
but
guano.
how do they know that it came from bats, yet they can't tell us how long it takes to incubate in a human body?
I read on the CDC website 14 days.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
14 days.
14 days.
And
It
that's
says, like,
why the-
it said in terms of quarantining someone, it's like if you quarantine someone and they don't experience or exhibit any symptoms within 14 days, you're good. And apparently, if you're not exhibiting symptoms, you can't pass it.
What? But you can always pass things before you exhibit
what I
symptoms, so
thought.
that doesn't make any sense.
I thought I read that. So.
So,
Oh, well.
but
Excuse
really?
me. Excuse me.
I mean,
Yes,
isn't
that's a
that
good
how,
point.
isn't that the whole thing about how
guess
these
you- that's
things
why you would
travel
quarantine
and
someone.
whatever? And what's the deal? Like, okay, so okay. We all live 1 second away with Amazon and
Yeah.
with everything else, right? And so how long can it like live outside the human body? That's the next question.
That's a
That's
good
the question, is because how is it transmitted? They're not sure if it's airborne or whatever, and the reason people are freaked out about it is because it travels so fast. Like you're 20 times more likely to die of that than the flu, because there's that big statistic going around where people are like, well, the flu pill kills all these people, but they're like, the flu's been around and is around everywhere already. This is a new thing that you have you're 20 times more likely to die from it if you get it than the flu, because we don't know about it and it travels super fast.
Yeah.
I did
so, but
read
how do
somewhere.
they know it travels super fast?
Right.
Because of how
see,
it's moving,
this
because
is-
of how many people have been infected in the time that it's been around and how fast it's spreading.
But if they don't know how, but they say it's 14 days of incubation, because I mean, maybe it's just.
I also
takes a
heard that if you
slow
have it,
incubation.
you like the symptoms, it can go dormant and then the symptoms can like come back.
So that with 14-day quarantine doesn't make any
Let
Well,
take
maybe.
a look.
Look,
I
are
was
there
looking, I was
zombies
looking this up
outside?
yesterday.
Well, see, look, this
That's
is
a good question.
y'all know that y'all remember that game Extinction? It's like a little app game that
Here
you
it
can
is.
play. You can create
Yeah,
a virus.
people have been talking about
That's
that
what
game a
this
lot.
shit
Here's
lately.
what the CDC website
feels
says.
like.
For COVID-19, which is the virus we're talking about,
Right.
the period of quarantine is 14 days from the last date of exposure because 14 days is the longest incubation period seen for similar coronaviruses. Because coronaviruses have been around, there's lots of different versions. So someone who has been released from COVID-19 quarantine is not considered a risk for spreading the virus to others because they've not developed the illness during this period. But I'm going to look for the other thing.
Radical listening. This has been your PSA.
Basically, we haven't told you
I
shit.
mean, this is
Just
me reading
be
off
paranoid.
of my smartphone off of the CDC
Yeah.
website. So do
Just
your own research.
redo
I'm
it so you don't
not
have
a
to.
yeah,
fucking
just
medical
be
professional.
paranoid.
All right, next headline.
Next.
This is good. So, Torontonians lined up for the Canadian launch of White Claw. Because
That's a
now,
beer, right?
well,
It's a
kind
hard seltzer.
It's a
that's been
hard
taken
seltzer.
off.
Okay, hard.
spike
Yeah.
seltzer.
Okay.
So yeah, there are long lines in front of Front Street for the Canadian launch of White Claw, the almost sugar-free vodka soda. So have
vodka.
you?
Do they have actual vodka? Because here's
That's
the
what
thing.
they say.
Okay, because in America, I thought that you can't put liquor into things that you're selling like that,
Who knows?
and I thought it was like a malt beverage.
But
Never mind. Continue. Sorry.
So that's what we got. So have you had a White Claw yet?
No.
No.
Oh
I'm
wow.
not a drinker like that, and
They're
and
just
spiked
these
seltzer.
things.
It just doesn't.
You've seen them, right?
Yeah, no,
Your
I
No.
cans.
no,
Let me show you.
not my cup
We,
of tea.
we don't
Wow.
get out like that.
Cool.
No,
You
I'm
made
a
me feel-
Gatorade
Well, they're kind
kind
of
of
taking off
guy.
because like LaCroix is real big, and all the seltzers are like kind of taking off. Seltzer water is just huge for the last few years. Like people have been just drinking a lot
That's
more
true.
carbonated water.
That's true.
And so recently, within the last few years, they've started coming out with these like hard seltzers that are alcoholic, and then they're like lightly flavored, but they're like clear, just like seltzer water with alcohol.
But what? So it's
So-
sold in a liquor store or what?
Sold in
Sold in,
anywhere
like,
you can get
convenience
beer
store, too?
because they're all
Safeway.
like 5% alcohol,
Oh.
like a beer would be. So it's
Oh.
the same kind of like alcohol as a beer, but they've been so popular that
I
now
just
they're
put
finally.
ice cubes in my drink.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that take.
I don't know. I
apparently
ain't
because
had it. I
they
don't
haven't
know.
had it in Canada yet, and because it's been so popular here, the
Well,
lines are
Did
out
you
the
know
door.
that? Did you know
This is
I've
nice.
never even
This is
heard of
actually
this
the
before.
greatest.
Yeah, no, no.
Response this could be.
No idea. I'm just like, oh, okay,
I didn't know
that's
about
cool.
that.
Well, right on. You know, I say
Well,
to all
Just
the
in
people,
time for summer.
stay
Just
out
in
there.
time.
Just in time for summer is right.
Yeah, I'm a Bud Light kind of beer guy.
Ew, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bud Light. Yeah.
Well, then you probably would like White Claw.
Yeah, you probably would.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Also, a study came out,
Oh.
and it shows through some kind of test that self-centered, stubborn men are more likely to own luxury cars.
Mm,
Is anybody surprised?
Can
right.
science explain why the?
Self-centered, stubborn men,
Yeah.
Stubborn.
luxury cars. Of course. Yeah.
That's what I said. He brought this up earlier, and I was like, okay, tell me something I don't know. Be like, but there's science about
Yeah.
it now.
I mean, there's science now, so it's proven.
So it's proven.
But like, if the science can actually be a little more specific and say exactly what kind of luxury car, like
Wow.
like 2003 Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'd be pretty dope.
I mean, we're just in the
I
beginning.
wonder what the stubborn part has to do with it.
Hmm.
I mean, is it own?
Well, think about it this way. Like, I imagine that a lot of luxury cars, you have to kind of ignore the fact that it uses a lot of gas.
Uh-huh.
And it uses
Like-
premium gas.
Right? It's probably actually taxing to have it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an image thing. There's a study I'd heard of before that was about, the barred crosswalks that you're supposed to stop at for people. They had people wait at some of those and look at the makes and models of the cars that actually would stop for people who are waiting and the cars that wouldn't. And like far and beyond, it was the luxury cars that would just go right across and wouldn't stop.
Huh.
So, gain some credence to the self.
Or the people who
man.
can't afford those cars are more concerned about lawsuits. That could be too.
Also, that could be part of it. But they also their thought. One of the thoughts was that maybe the people in cars that aren't as nice maybe have walked places before, and so have waited.
Are we going to talk about how people in Portland just step out? I just want to
Oh
take
my
everybody in
God.
Portland and put them in
my
Haiti
God.
for like a weekend.
Yo, Portlanders, you cannot do
you
that.
can't do
bruh.
that.
Yeah.
You
Car
can't.
versus man.
Yeah.
Car always
wins. Yeah.
That's
You
true.
might get a little insurance, whatever, out
But
of
no,
it, but you
not
got two
worth
broke
it.
legs, bro.
Look, there's the law here about that any intersection is a crosswalk, and people have taken it too far because they just walk anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
They
And
just
others
step.
look
They
at
don't
me.
even look. They just step out.
Oh my god!
But you know where else they step out? New York City.
But I don't think people step out just into traffic against the light. Like they step out and they take
Right,
a
you-
look,
you have
and
to-
then they go and they
you
make
have
a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
awareness.
in New York, they're like getting their ass across the street.
Yeah,
They're
you
not
make a
just like
choice. Just walk because
This
like
dog is
you
cute.
can walk.
And I will say, the worst street that I've experienced this on is Division between like 39th and 50th, where it's like Salt and Straw and all those other places. Not to like
Oh,
whatever. I
shit.
mean, like
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
keep
all
Portland
these
weird.
places, and it's like I don't know. They don't seem like they're from here.
No, I know.
well, that's the thing. It's a tourist.
Well,
People
I
are
mean,
just
yeah.
they're on vacation and they don't care about the
Also,
rules.
Also, the place where I'm. Should I say this? I'm going to say it. We can cut it if we need to. The place where I felt like I've gotten almost hit the most times is near here, 23rd.
oh
like,
yeah.
when trying to cross the
coming
street
up here.
here.
Oh my God, people are
And walking, crossing the street. I saw it again yesterday. I've gotten I've been working here for 2 months, pretty much consistently, and I've gotten almost hit twice. And I've seen other people. Like yesterday, I saw someone almost run directly into a couple that was crossing the street.
Yeah.
Well, people just lose their mind coming off the bridge with the new traffic pattern. Like
The new
it is
traffic
beyond
pattern
them to
and the parking.
understand the new traffic pattern.
Ah.
They cannot, and they no.
Yeah, but come and see our shows here at Coho Theater. It's a good time.
It seems like a good time
Found
to talk
Dog
about
Urban Dance.
plugs.
It really is a
The
nice
7th.
theater. You guys should come and check it out.
All right, so let's just do plugs. So plugs.
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 The LA Lakers, baby.
Right.
LeBron James,
I was gonna say what
Anthony
era.
Davis, Kyle Kuzma,
Right now.
Rondo, Dwight.
Have you always
all
been a
the
Lakers
boys.
fan?
All my life, man.
Okay.
All my life. I was born into a Jordan household. So like when I was a kid, I remember like Jordan winning rings, and then like my biggest memory of Jordan is being like in Fort Lauderdale, hanging out with my friends. It was like our family's friends of family, and he hit the big shot against the Utah Jazz,
Yeah.
and I'm up on my seat like going, oh my God. And my brother, who was like, he's a diehard Jordan fan, like he was having a heart attack. But right after that, I remember Kobe Bryant. And so
Yeah.
shout out Kobe Bryant.
Shout out.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. the Bean, Black Mamba. Yeah. Who you got, Coach? Who you shouting out?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to see the Journal of Ben Uchida, Oregon Children's Theater production with Dima Roberts directing. I'm excited to see that. I'm
Yeah.
also excited to see 7 Guitars. It's gonna
Yeah,
come out.
Passing
It's gonna be
Art.
Passing Art. Yeah.
Passing Art. I don't know what else is out there. I'm sorry, friends.
I mean, see Pipeline. Go see that.
Oh yeah,
Pipeline.
definitely come see Pipeline.
Playing through March 15th at Portland Playhouse.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes, Pan African Festival later this summer, August 8th. That is August 8th from 12 to 8:30 p.m. That will be at the Pioneer Square. It'll be a day full of celebration of the Pan-African culture. If you don't know what Pan-African means, that means celebrating Black people all around the globe, whether you are in North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, or if you're even in the North or South Pole.
Not coming up for a while, though, is the Vanport Mosaic Festival. That'll be the end of May, beginning of June.
Bliss, or Emily Post is Dead by Jamie Brandy. It's running now until March 14th. You can go and see one of Confrontation's own, Jasmine Cottrell. Shout out, Jasmine.
Phil, you saw that show, right?
I saw it last night, and that was my plug. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I
Oh,
love that.
that's what's up.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, we're coming off the end of Black History Month.
I've
Don't
got
get
one
me
in just a
started.
second.
Don't
Oh,
get me
God.
started.
Going into
Don't
Black
get me
History Month
started.
Part 3. Last time
Thank
was
you.
just Part 2. Now
Yes.
this is Part 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of my friends are taking over the Dante's Sinferno Cabaret on Sunday, March 22nd. So the Crystal Ballers are taking over at Dante's that night. You should come see it. It's a really, really great cabaret show that happens every Sunday in at Dante's, and it's the only place where you can spin fire at a bar. So
Yeah.
there's a ton of great
Oh,
fire
wow.
performances. And like go-go stuff, cabaret acts, some of the weirder stuff you'll see, and a lot of I saw someone do like the handstand and like shoot in a flaming arrow with their feet, like at the center of a target. Like, you know, it's like
Ooh,
some
that's
That's amazing.
highly skilled stuff happens there.
Virtuosic.
That's
So
quite
yeah,
amazing.
you should anytime, any Sunday night when you're thinking of something to do late night, if you don't have to be up early, do that. But especially the 22nd of March. Yeah.
And there's one more weekend of Found Dog?
One more weekend of Found Dog. We close March 7th here at Coho. So come see us. 3 more opportunities. Yeah.
Great. Thank you guys so much for coming and doing this with us.
Hey, thank you for having us, man.
Thanks for the whiskey.
Yes.
been a
It
ball.
was quite lovely.
it's been a
Quite
ball.
lovely.
Wash your hands.
That's right. Even if it's not real, wash your fucking hands.
In college, we had this person who she would finish our like weekly theater department meeting. She'd say, "And everybody, remember, wash your hands." So there you go.
Absolutely.
Believe it.
Word.
Thank you. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to talk about our show sponsors. Coho is a theater that's located in Northwest Portland, and their mission is to broaden perspectives and cultivate empathy through vibrant and intimate productions. If you're looking to get involved with Coho or interested in seeing a show, you can check them out at 2257 Northwest Raleigh Street in Portland, Oregon, or you can look at their website, which is cohoproductions.org. Our other show sponsor is virtualsonicreality.com, which is a production company that specializes in recording and audio format entertainment, such as podcasts and audio dramas. Feel free to visit the website at virtualsonicreality.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of Radical Listening. If you have questions or would like to reach out, feel free to reach out to our email, which is radicallisteningpodcast@gmail.com, or visit the Coho Theater website for more information. And thanks for listening.